3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hello, and as a wise man once said, guess who's back? Back again. The Texas Private School Podcast, back for another season 3, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it is. We are, this is the preview episode for week 1. We've been waiting for this to come around for, well, I guess since December, since the season ended. So I know all 3 of us are incredibly gassed for this to happen. We've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but now it is finally time to debut season 3 of the Texas Private School Podcast. As always, I am 1/3 of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson. Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder joined me from College Station and Stillwater, Oklahoma, respectively. Walker, we're both back in College Station. How have things been? How are you? More importantly, how excited are you for the start of private school football?
It's week 1. I want some hype, bro. It is week 1 of the Texas high school football season, guys. Week 1. It is the best time of year, the fall. It's the best time of the year, guys. I am excited. College Station is good. We start classes. I'm not excited for that, but we are. And it's week 1. And at the end of this season, we're going to find out who is there at the TAP State Championship, also SPC. But yeah, that's why I wore this shirt. Cause this is the starting point to see who ends up at the ending point of this shirt. I'm excited for it. A lot of good games. We start out with a great slate in week 1.
I love the energy, brother. It's fantastic. Ryan Schroeder in Stillwater, Oklahoma. How are you? And how excited are you for the start of high school football?
Man, high school football is back. Texas high school football is back. Texas private school football is back. I am ready for it. I'm ready to see guys go after it this year. It's season 3 for the podcast. We're almost, making our way back to our anniversary again. It's very, very exciting to see this year for how, things are going to go. I feel like we've made a ton of upgrades throughout the podcast for these past, 2 to 3 years. And so this is going to be what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to football. I'm looking forward to everything. I just started my classes yesterday, had a class today. We're back in full swing of stuff. And let's go, man. I'm ready for some football. I'm ready for everything. I'm ready for all the football, high school football, college football and all that kind of stuff. Private school football. I'm ready for that.
I like
yes,
the energy.
that is always, and I don't know what comes after always, but that's always most important is private school football. We are incredibly excited for it to start, but for some things on our end, if you've not seen already, we have our website up and running. That is txpsmedia.com. Ryan has done a ridiculous and probably too much work in putting that together, but it is here. It is fantastic. We have a basic and a pro subscription. A pro subscription allows you to access exclusive articles as well as our photo gallery. So whenever we are on site taking pictures, you'll be able to access pictures from games there. So I highly recommend you go and you just join in some capacity. It doesn't even have to be the pro subscription, but check out the website there. We already have several articles written by all 3 of us. So we're putting a lot of work in there. Go check it out. It's just another branch of what we do. Also, we just recorded what I think is going to be my favorite episode we've ever put out. It's also our most chaotic and just absolutely insane, but I think it's hilarious. You can see in both of their reactions. It's the most borderline insane and unhinged thing we've ever put out, but that will be the Texas Private School Market Advisors. I'm not going to say anything more about it. I'll let you watch it when it comes out. Ryan is taking the brunt on editing that, but I think that will come out sometime this weekend or early next week, but please be on the lookout for that. Yeah, it's unhinged. I don't know what else to say here, but let's just jump right into some of the main storylines from 2022. Later in the episode, we actually do an interview with Foster Sawyer. You will see that here in probably about 20 minutes. We also pick and preview games there, so make sure you stick around for that. But I think one of the first main storylines from the 2022 season, will anyone touch Parish or Dallas Christian? I mean, both of those teams have proven that they are far and away the favorites to win their divisions respectively. I know for sure. You know what? I'm not even going to say that. Walker, do you think anyone comes close to the Panthers or the Chargers in the 2022 season?
Do you want the short answer or the long answer?
Short first, followed by the long.
No, followed by the long. There is no reason that Parish Episcopal should be playing the non-district schedule that they are. I think we already talked about this in the Division I preview, but playing 2 5A powerhouses and other schools and like Alito, South Oak Cliff, Austin LBJ again, Bel Air Episcopal, who's going to be good this year. That is a ridiculous non-district schedule. I don't think with my 2 eyes, I have seen a team as good as this Parish Episcopal team, top to bottom. It is ridiculous. It's insane. And speaking about Dallas Christian, we never got to do a Division III preview. So previewing them a little bit, I mean, well, like you lose Gabriel Grubbs, you lose Max Mikata, you lose Jaleel Brown, you lose blah, blah, blah. You lose Jackson Berry, Nick Dore. It's kind of nuts that you are going to be good enough to be a top 10 program in Division III the next year. Zach Hernandez comes over and was a big time player in 6A Rockwall and transfers over there, who will looks like he'll be the Jaleel Brown replacement. And
How'd
that's
they
just
get him, dude. He was projected as the top player in that district in 6A. It's not fair, man.
It's kind of ridiculous. Philip Bazemore looks like a monster too. On the offensive line, defensive lines, you have Cole Burke as offensive lineman, Porter Nix, the 24 guy, Greg Salvador. Devontae High was there last year, was a monster. Zane Tolliver, Chris Scott, Damian Christensen, and the 2 guys that were there last year that are going to be big time players as underclassmen. Of course, 2024 DB Will Nettles is going to cement himself as probably one of the best defensive backs in all the state, and especially in private school. And dog. And I like that. And I mean, 2025 quarterback Luke Carney, I mean, speaks for himself, winning the state championship as a freshman, having a starting gig at Dallas Christian. I mean, that's ridiculous to say it in itself. And he got the offer from Georgia Tech in the offseason, looks poised and ready to go. And I mean, will be a dominant player there at Dallas Christian, with weapons all around him. I even saw a video of Luke throwing the Will Nettles on the offensive side. So if they put Will on the offensive side too, I mean, that's another.
It's
Dog.
D3, man. Why not?
Thank you,
Oh,
thank
sorry,
you.
dog. I dropped the ball.
We're going to do that. That's another
dog.
God, that was amazing, guys. That was really good. Anyways, yeah, I mean, no, this team should not be in Division III, but it is. And let's just say they're also playing a really, really good out of district schedule, and they're going to prove to people why they're, in our opinion, a top 10 team in TAPS, SBC, and just in private school.
Yeah, I'm looking at this schedule, and keep in mind, this non-district schedule is stacked, and the one game that they have the potential to lose is to Fort Bend Christian. I mean, that's the only thing I see, and they're playing Nolan Catholic too, and I'm already writing that as an automatic win in my book, and that's a Division I team. But I mean, the only hinge game is FBCA. I mean, their district schedule is Covenant Christian, Brook Hill, McKinney Christian, and Shelton. They're going to beat all those teams by at least 30. They're by at least 50, probably. Yeah, I think I'm good with 50. But Ryan, your thoughts on DC's upcoming season, and also, is anyone going to touch Parish? You can sprinkle that in there.
Yeah, so with Parish and DC, they're very similar teams in my opinion a little bit. They kind of just run their own division. With Parish and DC too, they both have 2025 quarterbacks running their offense, right? Last year we saw Sawyer Anderson running the offense of Parish, and last year we saw Luke Carney running the offense of Dallas Christian. I mean, it's kind of crazy to see how the 2 teams that were running the 2 main divisions, where it was kind of like the D1 and D2 last year, were done by quarterbacks that were freshmen last year, right? So I think coming into this year, you're going to see these 2 teams. Parish hasn't gotten any worse. If only they've got better. And DC moved down. And honestly, with them moving down, they play a slot where who's going to touch them? I think with Parish, I think they get a loss this year somehow, not in conference, not in district play or whatever, but I see them losing to at least Alito, LBJ, South Oak Cliff, China Spring. Also, by the way, you know what they are? The 4A, what's called a state champions that was 16-0 last year. literally Parish just decided to give me anybody. I'll take anybody. So I think this is where you'll see a just absolutely, hard schedule for Parish, and then they're just going to have a cakewalk in their own district. Then DC, I think it's kind of the same thing, but DC is only really I have them against Fort Bend. Nolan Catholic might be a kind of a struggle, but and maybe Fort Worth Christian puts up a fight this year. But after all of that, though, you're going to see both these teams end out probably the season with only one loss, and then they're going to win their respective divisions in the playoffs. That's how I see it. So the final answer: no one's going to touch them in their own district, and I don't think anybody touches them in their own division. Would have to be out of division / out of conference in like the UIL setting for Parish.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think everything we said there is valid. Moving on to the next point, we have what are Midland's chances with the new coaching staff? There's a lot of turnover on Midland. However, there's still a lot of talent. You forget this is still the team that was the state finalist in Division I that now moves down to Division II. However, I mean, we don't even have them ranked in our top 10 overall in private schools as of now, but they're still a talented team. Walker, how do you think Midland Christian is going to fare with Coach Cunningham and a new staff going out there to West Texas?
I mean, it's going to be interesting because, I mean, point blank period. I mean, you lose a lot of seniors, a lot of them. Midland Christian is going to struggle just because of losing a lot of guys, and you lose a lot of talent in that senior class leaving. And especially the guy who did it all on offense for them in River Rodriguez. I mean, that's a big, big loss for them. He led that team and was that dude there for a couple years there. And I mean, it's going to be hard to replace him. You have transfers, and Nathaniel Brittle is going to be their starting running back this next year, but he's gone. Jackson Alexander was an all-state offensive lineman that transferred out. For the first time in a while, they don't know who their quarterback's going to be. That's the big question, right? Who's going to be that dude? And they have a couple guys that are, fighting for it. Blake Pruitt is one of them. Colton Newsome is one of it. I forget the other one. Anyone know it on the top of their head? And other one is Avery Morgan. There's 3 guys kind of battling for the job, and we're going to see who week 1 on Thursday it's going to be. They have talent. They're just young, man. They're just really young this year. Elijah Winham, Josh Cobb has been there for 4 years. It looks like all district every year. Dawson Bullard, and also Will Scholomer. I mean, those guys are going to be kind of the head guys to kind of lead this team in the right direction to show the younger guys that this is how you do it. This is the pinnacle, and this is how we do it here at Midland Christian. But yeah, I just think they're going to take a step back. But I mean, having Chris Cunningham as a head coach, I mean, there's no better guy to teach success than Chris Cunningham.
Oh,
yeah, Ryan.
Yeah. Perfect points that y'all made so far with Midland this season. I'm kind of just looking over their schedule right now. They play in what I think we can classify as the hardest district in TAPS. One that's loaded with Fort Worth All Saints, that's loaded with Fort Worth Christian, Southwest Christian. And then they're out of district schedule. It includes Regents, and Pleasant Grove. So they're testing themselves a little bit. But what I have to say here is just the fact that Midland's gonna come into D2 this year, moving down, and I think this is the year that you'll see overall how they can fight in D2. But I mean, they really do play in the hardest district, and I have already kind of come out and said that I have Midland finishing in that 3rd spot for playoffs this year. So, in the 3rd spot in district for their district. So it would be Fort Worth All Saints, then it would be Southwest Christian, then it'd be them. So Midland's going to have a middle of the road year this year, in my opinion. I think Coach Cunningham's going to be a great addition. That is going to be a guy that is going to bring in just a great mind to the team. But no, I think Midland kind of just has a middle of the road kind of year this year. And when I say middle of the road, I'm talking like a 6-4, like a 5-5. So that's how I see them finishing this year, just because they play a good amount of good teams this year. They could prove me wrong, But I'm excited to see what Coach Cunningham does this year. Huge loss for Prestonwood. Keep that in mind. Huge loss for Prestonwood. So, yeah, Coach Cunningham, I wish you all the best in Midland this year.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, Midland still has a fantastic culture. It's only getting better with Coach Cunningham going out there, but there's a lot of turnover. So we will see moving forward how Midland responds to all of that. Last point we're going to make before we get into our interview with Foster Sawyer. Fort Worth All Saints. I mean, we haven't been shy about how good we think they're going to be this year. All three of us think they're going to make a push for the state title in Division II. Walker, talk to me some about how good we think All Saints is going to be and the players that make them that way.
I mean, I think there's 7, maybe around 7, 8, maybe. I don't remember the exact amount, so don't stat me up right there. But I believe there's around that many guys who have Division I offers on one team in private school, and in TAPS Division II, that's very, very impressive. You have Texas Tech commit Chris Powell Freeman. You have Princeton commit Robert Sanders. You have also, which I think is the most impressive thing, is experience. And I love experience, man. And I think just having guys that have done it for a while, been there. I mean, Charlie Johnson is a guy I haven't mentioned, and he was a 4-year starter there on the offensive line. And he started there for 3 years because he was first at SES. But I mean, he's played 4 years of varsity football. Having experience like that and leadership from those guys is going to be so, so key in their progress to the state championship this year. Jalen Spriggs comes in and it looks like he'll be the guy throwing the rock. And I think he's going to be very, very impressive. Overall, I mean, you can't not hide the fact that this team is a talented team, an experienced team, and under Coach Beck, who is a proven winner of state championships. I mean, that's a recipe for success in any single team.
Completely agree. Ryan, your outlook on Fort Worth All Saints moving into the season.
Yeah, Fort Worth All Saints. I mean, I keep talking highly about them. I think they're so talented. O-line is absolutely stacked. Chris Paul Freeman is a great player. And honestly, this year I'm so excited to see how they play. I mean, this is a great schedule that they've made here. Getting to play Nolan Catholic first week, then testing yourself against TCA. Holland Hall, for anybody that knows Oklahoma high school sports, Holland Hall is not a bad team by any means. Holland Hall is a good Tulsa team. So that's going to be a good game. And Prestonwood is a very great team to challenge yourself against an old D1 battle that you had last year. Yeah, All Saints is doing all the things right this year. I'm telling you right now, All Saints is just that team in D2. Are they confirmed the D2 winners yet? No, by no means. No, they're not confirmed the winners. We have never said that, but they are one of the top teams out of D2 this year. And All Saints, they're going to do really, really well, especially with the amount of skill and the amount of just overall great players in the trenches they have this year.
Yeah, I completely agree. Oh, and I will give a little bonus storyline for just to round us out here. On Friday, October 21st, in the year of our Lord 2022, Corey Amdeo will travel to Grapevine Faith. And you might on the surface say this doesn't look like an entertaining game. On paper, Grapevine Faith is going to wax Corey Amdeo, and they might. However, Corey Amdeo recently lost a pretty good running back to a team by the name of Grapevine Faith. I'm trying to speak carefully here, but
yeah, I was about to say, where are you going to go with this?
Well, I'm saying that I think that they're going to come out and play pretty aggressively that game. I really do think Coram Deo is going to get very fired up for that Grapevine Faith game on October 21st. I really do think they're going to play with some aggression. I don't know if they're going to win. Obviously, I don't necessarily think that. We're going to have to see how the season plays out, but Coram Deo is a very experienced team that kind of had a gut punch when they lost one of their experienced players to Grapevine Faith as an inter-district transfer. We're going to see. I think that game might be somewhat interesting. Walker, you have any comments?
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, if a guy, your star guy, transfers to a rival high school, I mean, and in inter-district team, I mean, I think anyone would not take that too kindly, but it is interesting to see after all these scrimmages, and I don't take scrimmages whole like as perception of what actually the season will be like, but from how it sounds is Coram Deo is, I mean, looked pretty good in a couple scrimmages they did against Southwest Christian and others, and that doesn't mean everything, but I think they will be headed in the right direction under Coach Johnson, I believe, over there. And hey, you never know what could happen, but if they have the right mindset, anything can happen. You just have to have that mindset of you can go into any game and win and just give it your all. And I mean, with having that dog mindset, as we always say, I mean, you never know. You never know until the fourth quarter hits 0.
I agree. Ryan, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, you're talking about a team that overall this year, Coram Deo, probably one of the, not as high on the map teams this year in that district 2, Division 2. People are talking, just a lot of trash about, that district in general and stuff like that. And I just want it to be known that, that district is going to prove so many people wrong this year, and it's going to make a statement and just show that, a team like Coram Deo can come out and they can go up against Grapevine Faith and do it. Now, do I have, the Coram Deo team that's without John Raybook as the worst team in that district? Yes, I do. However, what I will say about that is it doesn't mean that they couldn't go against and win a game against Bishop Dunn, win a game against Legacy, win a game against Grace, or win a game against Grapevine Faith. Things happen every single Friday night where people get more fired up about winning that game and the other teams slack off. That happens so often in every single sport of every single thing ever. If you're not going to tell me that won't happen in TAPS, then you're lying to me. I could see everybody getting fired up at Coram Deo about, one of their main guys just, leaving them in the dust. And I think you could see a lot of guys surround themselves and give themselves a motive to go hard on that Friday night.
Yeah, for sure. I think anything, like you said, can happen on a given Friday, and we will be watching that game very closely. I guarantee you. We're all holding our breath a little bit until October. But with that being said, we are actually now going to transition. We got a fantastic interview and guest picker in Foster Sawyer. Please go check him out. We have his link to his Twitter and his show notes in the description, so please go check him out. But now, enjoy the interview. Pardon the interruption, but I would like to give a quick shout out to the John Cooper School and thank them for partially sponsoring this episode, as well as letting y'all know about something they have coming up, which is their athletic preview night. The John Cooper School wants you to come and learn more about playing sports there. You will get to meet their coaches and players, tour their campus, visit John Cooper's fields. It's an opportunity to grow, it's an opportunity to lead, and it's an opportunity to play. So please join John Cooper for the athletic preview night on October the 21st. That is the John Cooper Athletic Preview Night, October the 21st. So thank you to John Cooper for partially sponsoring this episode. Now let's get right back into it. Welcome back to a very special interview. We have Foster Sawyer from Fort Worth All Saints, as well as TCU and SFA. Foster, thank you so much for coming on the program. And how are you doing today?
I appreciate y'all having me on the show, man. Doing good. Fall's finally here. So, us football players and we're former football players, should I say now, and coaches, this is what we train for. And, it's exciting times for all programs around. So.
No, without a doubt. You can definitely tell everyone's getting fired up from DFW to Houston to West Texas. Everyone can kind of feel that it's football time in the state. You can feel that palpable energy throughout the state. But like I mentioned previously, you went to Fort Worth All Saints. You graduated in 2014. You said you played the 2013 and 2014 season. And I'd say that you had a pretty successful career for those 2 years. You're a two-time state champion in 2012 and 2013. You went 11-0 your senior year. You were a 3-star recruit, top 30 quarterback in the country, a lot of offers. So, what was your experience in high school, especially at Fort Worth All Saints? We are the private school podcast. We want to know what your experience was like there. And, what did your success teach you while you were there?
Man, when I showed up to All Saints in 2012, they already had a squad for me. So it was pretty hard. I think my mom could have won state for that team, to be honest. But no, I was super blessed. Coach Beck does a phenomenal job over there. He's the head coach and AD. Great head coach and mentor to me. He's like a father figure. But my time over there at All Saints was phenomenal. Going from private to public, back to private schools. We competed with the best. We had a good team, and just the culture was different. As you know, y'all went to private school as well, so it's special, and it means a lot to me. And I'm was thrilled to be at All Saints those 2 years, just years I could never get back. So
Yeah, I mean, I remember just growing up in Fort Worth. I mean, we'd always talk about at SCS when we were not doing so good those couple of years, but just talk about the success y'all had there. I mean, and y'all had some pretty good. Like you said, a team was pretty good back in the day. Demetrius Knox. I remember y'all had Kendall Adams on that team too. I mean, those were dogs back in the day. So, I mean, how was it talking to those guys and seeing? I mean, some of those guys, I know them too, especially had a lot of success on the next level for sure.
yeah, no doubt. You had Daniel Gresham as well at running back. So
Yeah.
I mean, we had, the list goes on. Even the ages below us, the classifications below us. I knew when I came into that team, all I had to do was just steer the boat and don't crash it. So I was very blessed to have a phenomenal line, have a head coach that let me be myself. But yeah, we wanted to play the best. We had a good squad. So we try to tell the kids there right now how good we were, but they don't want to listen these days. So
And y'all did an SPC too, not even in tabs. I remember those days. I remember when y'all switched over. But
yeah, they switched over right. I think 2 or 3 years after we graduated, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Something like that. Talking about, I mean, your college career, I mean, you had a journey, and we won't get into the specifics, but because it's, there's a lot of years in there, but is there something like for guys, looking at the college level, looking to play college ball, what's something that you took from your time playing as a college athlete that you could tell those guys looking at, I guess, their future,
Well, like I tell a lot of the kids that I train and stuff, playing at the next level, which is, obviously high level football. A lot of these days want the offers, and they should want those goals, right? But don't forget the process. I think a lot of, guys that have made it the NFL or made it at the high levels, they say the same thing. Don't forget the process. Don't forget being a high school kid. Don't forget being a fantastic high school teammate. You know what I mean? And that would be my advice to those guys. Looking back at it, is just enjoy those moments, because once you get to playing on Saturdays and Sundays, especially, it's all business, right? I mean, it's fun and all, but it's not like Texas high school football. You know what I mean? But that was my biggest take, was to tell these kids to work now and let all the offers and all that stuff take care of itself, because the coaches are always watching. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
No, I really don't think there is a more fun experience, at least that I've had up to this point in my, large 21 years on this planet, than playing Texas private or Texas high school football in general. I mean, it's just something about having the entire community come out and be together in one place on a Friday night, and just being there with what are your brothers by that point. I just think it's an experience that you honestly, you never get again, even past that level. So, I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's a really, really good point. Something I actually want to ask you about All Saints specifically, y'all had a pretty good season last year. Y'all made the playoffs, or All Saints made the playoffs. This year, what do you think about this year's squad? Because I know you've been watching them. I just want to ask, we have them right now as one of our favorites for the Division II state title. We think they're going to be very, very talented. What do you think the outlook is on this year's All Saints squad?
I think they're going to have a great season. Obviously, All Saints has had a lot of success in the past, and I think it's been a minute since they've won it all. We won it all, but I think they've got a great shot. It's not going to be easy. I know they had to go down to the lower division just based on enrollment, but teams like Southwest Christian, Midland Christian, those types of schools, they're great programs. But I think All Saints has got a good shot.
For sure.
So you talked about how moving down to Division II, but with moving down to Division II, that district, you talked about Southwest Christian and stuff. With Southwest Christian, Midland, and now Fort Worth All Saints, is that going to be, what you think is one of the hardest districts in TAPS?
I think it's definitely a tough division in TAPS, especially for that division, especially. I mean, obviously one of the tougher divisions is with Parish and Prestonwood and all that, as far as the highest level goes. Yeah. But because those schools are and Nolan Catholics, they got higher enrollment, but I will say those top schools, man, they can go compete with anybody. If you throw the ball out there, I mean, obviously with private schools, sometimes a team might have a bad year, but they'll bounce back. But for the most part, those top schools, Division I and Division II, in my opinion, could go compete with anybody. I mean, even some All Saints teams that maybe not have been as strong as the others could still go out and compete. I mean, the quarters, it still goes down to the fourth quarter in some of those games. And that's where teams like Parish right now, which is a very developed team, and those types of schools that are mature, they win the fourth quarters as of right now, and I think All Saints has a mature team this year. And, Midland Christian will always be Midland Christian. They'll always be consistent. They'll always be the disciplined team, and they can go compete with anybody. I mean, shoot, they went to the championship last year, right? And competed real well. It's TAPS division, because I played at Grace Prep too before I went to All Saints, and played Southwest Christian. We played Preston in the preseason before, but I've always said that the best TAP schools, they're all in the same boat. It's just who's gonna come out on top that year.
I mean, speaking of Grace Prep for a little bit, I know being from the southwest side of Fort Worth, I mean, we've practiced out at APR for a while now. I mean, I know we practiced there when I was in high school for like a couple days here and there, but I've always loved that place. It's a pretty cool place. So I guess talk about that and kind of just the whole, I guess, environment program. That place is pretty much, it's sick, to be honest. So just talk about that. And then speaking of Grace Prep, I know you train a couple guys like Jalen Talton from over there at Grace Prep now. Talk about working with some of the private school guys.
Yeah. So right now I'm overseeing the football side thing at APR, which is Athletic Performance Ranch. Ones that don't know, we're a nonprofit over here in Fort Worth, and our job is to give back to kids that need help. And in some senses, football and sports, can save lives. It really does. That's why I played it. That's kind of our vision and goal, is to help those kids, and then from there help them get a stable career path to maybe they can go to the next level. And that's pretty cool, whether that's being a fantastic high school player or beyond, going to being a college or pro. But that's our goal. It's been mainly track under Greg Schollers. He does a phenomenal job. Greg Schollers, which a lot of people know, we have a track team that's one of the best in the nation right now. And so that's kind of where now I'm trying to help grow the football side of things. And right now I'm just training quarterbacks. So training guys like Jalen over there at Grace Prep, and Landon over there at Covenant Classical, some All Saints quarterbacks. So but yeah, we have basketball too as well over at APR. So just whatever we can to help these kids, pretty much.
Yeah, no, that's such a great mission and aligns so well with what you grew up doing. I can't think of a more fitting job. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but what do you think, if you had to choose one, has been the most important thing you've learned coaching and teaching at APR? I mean, it's such a noble cause, and I'm sure there's a lot of things you glean, but I just want to know what you have taken out of there that's really impacted you.
So why APR is so special to me and has hold dear to my heart, obviously people that made it and people that worked there. But so when I trained there, it was a place for me to go get away. So when I played at TCU and at All Saints as well, I trained there, worked out there, and it was a place for me to get away and be consistent. What I mean by that too is, us as athletes, when you're doing your best, everyone's, wanting to talk to you, reaching out to you. Hey man, how you doing? What APR is, how are you going to be when you're not doing your best? You know what I mean? Don't put don't identify with your sport, especially at quarterback, because you'll have some good games and have some bad games. And so that's what I learned, was what Greg Schollers really taught me too over there, was just kind of how to do life and be a life coach. You know what I mean? A lot of these kids come around coaches that just beat them down and they get worn out with the sport real quick, rather than what we focus on is enlighten the kids. If you're going to do it with all your might, but you got to want to do it. And this is what it looks like, because everyone that works there and helps out over there has seen what that looks like. Obviously, I didn't play in the league, but I was around guys that do play in the league and how they go about things. So just kind of enlighten them in that way. And, if we could be there for them on the graduation day, when they graduate and signing day, that's where we get our purpose. So.
Man, that's awesome. I really can't think. I mean, it's a former athlete, and as everyone on here is a former athlete, that almost gives me chills. Like, I can't imagine a better ministry, so to speak, that these kids need and just can benefit them so much. So again, thank you for what you do. Honestly, that's fantastic. Yet again, we will have APR linked in the show notes. We'll have all of Foster's information linked on the show notes. It'll be on Twitter if you want to go see it. I mean, just go and check that out. But with that being said, Foster, you ready to do your best Lee Corso impersonation with some game day picks?
Oh yeah, I think I got my mascot hats around here somewhere.
Let's go, dude. So, I mean, just transitioning right into it, we are going to pick. I think we rounded it out to 6 or 7 games. Yeah, I think it's 7. But we're going to start with probably one of the biggest matchups I've seen in a long time. That is Alito at Parish Episcopal. Getting into the projections first, the Massey projections has this as a 40-34 win for Alito, who is a 6.5-point favorite. They have Alito as a 58% chance to win. A little bit of a synopsis: Parish returns 5 on offense and 9 on defense, and might have one of the greatest defenses we've seen in private school football, with Daniel Demery, Williams, and Mitchell Irving. And to count Parish out of this game immediately is not only ignorant, it's asinine. Remember last year, this team lost by 2 to a 4A state finalist, LBJ, and this year's squad has the potential to be even better. Call me what you want, but I'm taking Parish in this game. I mean, you're going to call me biased because I'm a host on the Texas Private School podcast. I genuinely think that Parish can and will win this game. Walker, your thoughts on Alito Parish?
Okay. It's so difficult for me because growing up where I did, you're 25 minutes away from Alito, and I have friends from Alito. And I mean, Foster, from this side of town, them as Titletown, Texas. And
Yeah.
I think I said it in the notes. I said, they don't rebuild, they just reload. That's just how it is over there. And I mean, you lose multiple D1 guys, especially BJ Allen, the Texas commit that's going there now. How do you beat it? But then you remember you have his younger brother there that's committed to Texas. You have Devon Keys, that linebacker, running back role. I mean, you have a good quarterback in, I believe it's going to be Haas Haney. That's going to be the starter there, probably, I think, who used to be a former Fort All Saints guy. Mm-hmm. All of this saying, I know this statistician in me, I like just saying all the stats, but I think there's no way I can go against Alito in this one. I think it's just too much in me to just kind of pick those guys. So I'm going to go Alito in this one, but I will agree with you, Wes. I mean, counting these guys out, man. Yeah. I don't think that's smart to count these guys out.
Walker, what's the name of the show we're on right now?
I mean, you are correct, but you see, last year I went a little more wild with my picks. So I'm going to be maybe a little bit more logical this time around and not have the worst pick record this year.
I forget. Foster, just for some context, we have a pick record every year. So we tally all of our picks, and at the end of the year, we have somebody who wins the pick record. So we're having to be a little bit more Ryan won it last year.
Yeah. Just say that real quick. Yeah. Just I
okay.
won't
So moving on, I picked Parish. Walker has asininely picked Alito. Ryan, are you going to side with the private schools here?
I mean, after just what we've seen with Parish, having guys come in this summer too, on top of the team that they already had last year, I obviously, like we said, we're a little biased, I got private school bias here. But at this point, I've had the conversation with people if a Parish type of team could actually compete in 5A, majority of the time and stuff like that. There's always been this talk about how Parish could go up, and if they actually did the route of
Jesuit.
Yeah, a Jesuit. If they did the route of a Jesuit, could they compete in that era? And I think like in that area. And I think that they can at least compete in 5A, if not 6A. That's my hot take. So for this reason, if they win this game on Friday night against Alito, you really can't tell me at this point that Parish isn't one of those teams that can compete in 5A. You can't tell me that they wouldn't put up numbers on other teams in 5A. Parish just gotten to a point where they're scooping guys out of the area in Dallas, and now they're going to be playing for Parish this year. And all this 4- and 5-star and 3-star talent that all comes through Parish and stuff like that. Yeah, it's funny that, all these big college coaches are coming to, Novikov's office because he's got guys, and I think those guys can outdo Alito this weekend.
So we got 2 for Parish, 1 for Alito. Foster, which way are we going to swing?
So this is the conversation that we always had. I am super jealous right now of Parish Episcopal because when I was in high school, we wanted Alito. We wanted to play him. I know a lot of those guys. I have the utmost respect for Alito and their program. Coach Novacek does a good job over there too. At Parish, the reason why I do think Parish could have a chance winning this game is obviously they're super talented. They could score points. We played them last year when I was helping out over there at All Saints. They don't have a weak spot on offense. And that's why the Sawyer quarterback, he was so able to walk in there and just, when you're walking as a freshman quarterback at that level, taps, at the highest level, that's tough to do. And that kid wasn't rattled at all. And anytime he did kind of seem somewhat rattled, if at all, you could tell that the head coach does a great job of handing the ball off to their star or throwing it to their big receiver, you know what I mean, to take that pressure off of him. Because Preston Stone before, that kid was, very successful quarterback, but he did it all, right? And the Sawyer kid, he just was a dink and dunk guy. And on the back end of it, their defense is good. I know a lot of those Alito kids too, and they're, if you get them out of the bus, they're 11 versus their 11. They stack up real well versus them. And I think Alito needs to find out who their big time player is on offense. It's going to be somebody. It's going to always be that sleeper guy. I don't know who just yet, and I don't even know who the quarterback will be. But I do know that it's going to be a fight. Believe it or not. And then I will say too, last year what gives me hope for Parish was when Coppell played Prestonwood last year. We all got in a group message and talked about it, and we thought they were going to put up a fight, but there's no way they're going to come up top just because they're a big 6A school. Well, they destroyed that Coppell team, and Coppell's a good program, so that's why it is doable. But I do think, sadly, Alito comes on top on this one, just based on what I said earlier. Fourth quarter, their guys, they have special teams guys. Their offense is their offense, their defense is their defense. There's no guys going both ways. I think Alito pulls it through in that way. But I do think it's going to be close. My guess is 50-24. That is my guess.
Ooh, wow. You see, I agree. That's what I was going to I didn't like the 11 on 11 Parish matches with anybody in the state of Texas, like most of the time. I mean, Duncanville, those guys might be the only exception, but man, 11 on 11, I think just Alito's depth is just so impressive, and it's always been like that. And man, you make a good point there. Like, who's going to be that star guy for Alito on the offensive side? Because last year, I forgot who it was. It was DeMarco Roberts, right? A couple years ago for a running back position. And then of course, Jace McClellan for all those years. But you need to figure it out who's going to be that dude for them. And I think on the Parish side, they're going to have to replace Georgia commit Andrew Paul somehow. And that helped Sawyer last year tremendously, where you could just hand the ball off and still let him dink and dop, like you said. So who's going to be that guy? Maddox Reed is one of those dudes. They have a freshman, I think. Who's going to be that guy? But man, I think it's going to be a very interesting game. And I mean, the fact is Alito lost to South Oak Cliff last year, who won it all, right? 3 weeks into their season, they play South Oak Cliff again. So you're playing 2 powerhouses in 5A this year. I mean, that's unheard of for anyone in TAPS, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Foster, Walker, I think y'all probably took the safer pick. I think it's a very low risk, high return situation for me and Ryan picking Parish, but we'll see. You got to play to the crowd a little bit, but no, I do say that because I do think Parish genuinely has a chance, and we will see come Friday. Moving into game number 2, we have the Episcopal School of Dallas versus Trinity Christian Addison. The Massey projections has this as a 38-28 win for TCA, who is favored by 10.5, and a 67% win chance for TCA. This is going to be one to watch for sure. The Eagles return their entire offense, sans one, including quarterback Patrick Burke and tight end Teddy Sparrow. And after falling short of expectations following the undefeated regular season, ESD is going to come out strong to kick off 2022. TCA, on the other hand, is an emerging force. After a 9-2 independent campaign, the Warriors returned 5 on both sides of the ball, including Luke Johnston and Chance Snyder. A strong offensive line also hopes to compensate for a new face at the quarterback spot. At this point in the season, I'm going to have to take the more experienced ESD. Returning basically your entire offense is invaluable, especially in the first week. There's not really any way I can pick against ESD here. Later in the season might be a different story. Week 1, I'm taking the Eagles. Walker, your thoughts?
That's probably the smart pick there. I think maybe TCA has the better. I think if you talk about just better guys, I think they have them over there. Just their linebacking core is ridiculous. I think Luke Johnson's a D1 dude over there. And I think for that reason, I think sometimes, I love having guys with experience. I think experience is what makes teams really, really good. But I think I'm going to go roll with a little bit more talent on this side with TCA Addison with this one. I think the Dore, Luke Johnson, having those guys are going to be really valuable. And I don't think ESD has a guy on defense like they did in Chase Kennedy, who went to Utah. I mean, that was one-man wrecking ball on defense, and I don't have that this year. It's going to be interesting to see who steps up for them.
Yeah, we're basically just gambling on the good offense versus the good defense. So
yes,
we're going to see who wins out there. Ryan, 1-1. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you just talked about Walker as well. I was exactly about to say Chase Kennedy. He's gone from that team, gone from that defense, led that defense. And your defense falls a little flat for ESD. But what I will say for ESD, Patrick Burke has just become so experienced now, that he knows that team like bread and butter. And I just think that with him now, with 4-star Teddy Sparrow, I mean, that's going to be just a straight connection that I don't know how you can cover that sometimes with Teddy Sparrow. He's a big target to hit. And I think overall Patrick Burke has become extremely efficient in hitting his targets recently. So for that reason, as much as I don't know about TCA, also the fact I think TCA needs to be a little bit of a reminder about how kind of football kind of works in taps. Again, I know this is non-conference, but last year, running that independent schedule and stuff like that, they're going to have to get in the swing of things of actually playing district games and all that kind of stuff and what it means to actually play real games and stuff. Because I feel like last year they weren't really competing for anything. I mean, their season ended short and they won the independent championship. So I'm ready for this year to see how TCA responds to a kind of a real season. And then I think ESD comes out on top in this game.
They did beat DC last year.
Oh, yes, but
yeah, but they did. Well, overall, they competed. They didn't play in any was there season 8 games? Am I not right? Or 11 games?
No,
whatever.
No. Yeah, I get what you're saying. That makes sense.
The motive last year wasn't to win the hardest D2 state championship against the DC. The motive was to win this 11-game schedule against independent schools, which who knows that Cornerstone or whatever. That's what I'm trying to say.
I also wanted on record that the reigning pick champion is now trailing my picks. So let's just keep that in mind as we move forward.
Oops.
Foster, ESD versus TCA. Your thoughts on the upcoming game?
I think all make good, valid points. I haven't seen neither of these teams on film in a while. Trinity Christian Addison was always really good when I was in high school growing up. And then Dallas, Episcopal Dallas, they were good. But I haven't seen them in a while. But based on their players that they have this year, I mean, it's hard to beat that offense. It's hard to go against that. But I was thinking more opposite on the independent campaign. I think they're coming ready to go based on this 9-2, 5 returners on both sides, and then I'm a quarterback, so I love me a good tight end. So this Luke Johnson kid, I watched a little bit of his film. He's pretty good. So I think he's going to take some pressure off for Mills. I think it's going to be close. I think TCA comes out on top, though.
Yeah, no, I think that's a smart pick. That Luke Johnston kid is nasty. I watched his film over the summer. I think he's got a ton of talent. But that game will be interesting come Friday. Moving into a Southern matchup, we have Austin Regents versus San Antonio Central Catholic. As for the Massey ratings, they project this as a 34-27 win for Central Catholic, who is favored by 6.5, a 62% win chance for Central. As for the synopsis, Regents returns 6 on both sides after an 11-1 campaign, whereas Central returns 4 on both sides after going 9-3 in a Final Four in TAPS D1. Both are tremendous teams that are experiencing a lot of turnover. However, familiar faces are still present on both sides. Regents returns All-State Jacob Wilburn at DB and Colorado State commit Whitfield Powell at the defensive end spot, whereas Central returns SMU commit Braden Flowers and Caleb Harrison. I think this game will be pretty evenly matched, but for the time being, I have to take Central. I don't really like how Regents matches up with Flowers. So I like the buttons, which we just learned was a rattlesnake, I think.
Well,
in
no,
a close one. Oh,
it's the rattles.
It's the rattles on a rattlesnake. Okay. Well, I like the rattles on a rattlesnake in a close one here. Give me Central Catholic. Walker?
You know what, Wes, for the first time this episode, I'm actually going to agree with you. I'm going to go Central Catholic in this one. I think it's going to be hard. Like losing 4 D1 guys on any team anywhere is hard. But I still think they're going to be edged in this one. Ryan Perez looks the part. He looks like he'll take place. And I'm guess over the past couple of years, you learn under a Sam Houston State quarterback. I mean, you have to learn a thing or two for sure. So in that, he'll have a great tight end and Braden Flowers, who probably will go to college for defensive end, but I'm guessing they'll play on both sides. Caleb Harrison, Mr. Do-It-All, like I always say. I mean, he can. What's good about him is he's always in the right place at the right time, and you love those guys on defense. And it's going to be interesting to see how good can Quinn Murphy be as a freshman, offered by Louisville without playing a varsity snap already. That means high hopes for him. And as we know at Austin Regents, they always have a good quarterback, so maybe he can take the next step and be that dude.
We will see. That will be interesting. Ryan, you're going to keep trailing my picks here?
Yeah, don't get too high on yourself though. But like I'll tell you right now, it's like I think Central wins this as well. I want to see how Regents plays. I mean, I think with the loss of Drew Dickey, which is a player that I thought was elite last year. I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought was elite. You're a quarterback guy, Foster. I wonder if you'll agree with me here. Losing a guy like a Drew Dickey to Vandy and stuff like that. I mean, you're losing a valuable asset of your team. Not that an entire team, is run by just Drew, but in all reality, I really, really like I really, really like Flowers as well. Like Braden Flowers. I really like him as well. And I think I agree with you, Wes. You're gonna think you're so cool for me just tailing all your picks, but that's not how it is. I genuinely think that Flowers is the key, the game changer or key player that kind of sets them over the top. I think Regents needs a little time to recoup and kind of reload and kind of just take what this team was last year and figure out what it is going to be this year.
Yeah, no, all solid points. Foster, I'm going to implore that you please take Regents in this game, because anytime that we have a unanimous pick for one team, that team ends up losing and we get destroyed on Twitter. So just keep that in mind as you make this pick.
That's not always true. That's not always true.
A lot of the times it is.
Let people say what they want. Whatever.
I'm going to go Regents.
Ooh.
For sure. Yeah, I'm going to go against the Grains, man. I think Central Catholic does a good job. Remember seeing them play last year. They're big, they're physical, they're well coached. Something about this freshman, man. That's Quinn Murphy, is that his name? He's pretty talented kid. Watched his film a little bit. We've heard about him. Again, it's hard to beat the six return guys on both sides with 11-1 campaign. I mean, I think Regents does a good job of reloading. I kind of like we talked about Alito earlier, and kind of a Parish as well. I mean, those types of teams, those programs are successful. I think Central Catholic doesn't have as good of years last year, but I think they'll still do well in playoffs. But I think Austin Regents goes the distance, and I I'm just going to go against what y'all said, just to be honest.
Hey,
No,
hey,
I appreciate it. It's we're hedging our bets a little bit, and trust me, we'll get a lot less flack on Twitter whenever this goes wrong.
I will say Regents is out for blood. I'm not trying to hedge my bet here, but Regents is out for blood. After the way they finished last year, I know they want to get after it. I was the one that was the key guy last year saying if Regents went all the way, I felt like they would have, put up the better fight against DC, and I'm holding them to that. Like, I think Regents would have been a great team. So I know Regents is ready to get after it. Sorry I picked against y'all, but I still have faith in y'all last year. So let me say that.
Yeah, no, they have such a good culture and an established culture as well down there that I think that'll also factor into a week 1 game. But I'm still holding true to my pick. I don't go back on things. However, we will now move into, I think this is, yes, game number 4, Houston Second Baptist versus Houston St. Pius. Is for the Massey ratings, it has this as a 28-21 victory for Second Baptist, who is a 6.5-point favorite, and a 64% win chance for the Eagles. I'm looking forward to this matchup. St. Pius returned 6 on both sides of the ball, coming off of a 5-6 campaign, where Second Baptist returned 6-5 following a D2 state title berth. I am really interested in the quarterback battle here between Bryce McKeon and Turner Murdoch. I think both are good athletes, and they have good athletes around them. And I think both coaches are going to let the rock fly this game. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say Second Baptist can get this one done. A shift from run heavy to pass heavy is really going to test Murdoch, but I think he has the pieces around him to make it happen. Like we said, he had Eli Smith and Everett Skillern to take the load off and take the majority of that offense last year, but I think he is talented enough to handle throwing the ball on his own. So I like the Second Baptist Eagles in this one. Walker?
I'm gonna go against you. I said in our episode, our market advisors episode, that episode that should come out soon. I have faith in St. Pius Panthers, and I like Bryce McKeon. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. And I think on the defensive side, Aiden Allen, a D1 recruit, I really like him, and I really like Jonah Arazo and Ethan McMahon. I think those guys on the defensive backside are going to be really good players for them. I just think, I think if any year they can maybe hang with like the Central Catholics of the world, they might be this year. So I'm going to go St. Pius in this one.
There's a lot of going back and forth in this episode, and I really like it. Ryan, your thoughts on the game?
Man, you think so highly of yourself, what I'm about to say, but I have Houston Second Baptist, and it's because I like the connection that Murdoch can make with players. It is such a huge loss with Everett Skillern. I cannot talk about how much of a loss they're going to have on both sides of the ball with Skillern being gone this year. But what I do have to say is I think, Turner Murdoch is going to do really well this year. A guy that I've been looking at is I think wide receiver 1, JD Crisp. I think he is a pretty decent player, in my opinion. I think he's one of those guys that's going to make Murdoch have a good season this season. But I want to see how they play together. If this is a really good test to see what is the connection between JD Crisp and, Turner Murdoch. And then, Bryce McKeon, that is something I want to figure out about St. Pius. I don't know enough about him in my personal, I haven't watched enough St. Pius to know that. So with Turner Murdoch here, I think this is just the game for him. And I have Turner Murdoch and this runner-up team from last year, winning the first game against St. Pius.
McKeon's good. I watched him play. He split snaps with Cale Skinner last year. I think he was hurt a lot of last year, but he's solid. He'll be good in his return. But Foster, Second Baptist versus Houston St. Pius. Who you got?
I got Houston Second Baptist. I think St. Pius is a good program. They've always put up a good fight. I know Coach Cranfield will do a good job over there, but I think going back to 6 on the offensive side and 5 on the defensive side, followed a state title berth. I think this is a team that knows how to win. That's a team that comes out ready to go. Not to say that a St. Pius team can't learn from this. This is what's so interesting about week 1, week 2, week 3. It's that's why I like teams that schedule hard teams from the first couple of weeks, to figure out what kind of team you have. But I think Houston's second batch just comes on top for sure.
I like how he just kind of set Walker out on an island here.
He
and
did.
We'll see how that goes. Goodbye, Walker. Okay, so next game, Fort Worth All Saints versus Nolan Catholic. The Massey ratings has Nolan Catholic as a 7.5-point favorite. They say it's going to be a 36-28 victory for the Vikings. They say Nolan Catholic has a 65% win chance. So All Saints returns 8 on both sides, whereas Nolan returns 5 and 6. I think both squads are talented and have high ceilings. For All Saints, Fort Worth Brewer transfer Jalen Spriggs will be slinging the ball to blazing fast Texas Tech commit Chris Powell-Freeman. They have a fantastic O-line to block for him, as well as dogs such as Robert Sanders and Keller Patterson on the defensive line. Add in Kevin Chumley at the linebacker spot and Javont Williams at DB, and the Saints look poised to make a title run in Division II. On the other side, looking at the Vikings, there is a lot of change. After the tumultuous exit of Coach Bowden, Coach KJ Williams takes hold of the ship and will try to guide Nolan out of the storm. However, with guys like Cole Matsuda and Antonio Hall, the Vikings certainly still have the talent to compete in Division I. However, in this matchup, I think Fort Worth All Saints holds the advantage. You know, I like them a lot. We've been raving about them for the last 3 months, saying how we think they're going to be real players in Division II. It'd be a little hypocritical of me to switch stance now and say, oh, no, I don't think they can win this game. So I like Fort Worth All Saints in this matchup. Give me the Saints. Walker.
Well, the Battle of Fort Worth, as it is, I believe it's called, right, Foster? Is that what it's called, or is there? Yeah,
the Battle of Fort Worth. Yeah, that's it.
And I've always said for the past couple of years, I mean, it's not only the battle of just the Fort Worth private school, it's probably the best 2 teams always in Fort Worth, in my opinion. And it's always a good one. You know, I'm bringing it back, Wes. My mortal lock. Let me see if I can get that. My mortal lock with the lights and everything. My mortal lock is Fort Worth All Saints today. I have all the faith in Fort Worth All Saints this game. I think the quarterback, offensive line, shout out my guy, Charlie Johnson. That's my guy. And, you know, that offense line with him, Bennett Nanali, and Cole Eldridge is a very good offensive line to let Spriggs throw the ball wherever he wants to. I just really like this team, man. You can't tell me with all this talent, it's not going to be good, man. So that's give me Fort Worth All Saints.
It's a good pick, Ryan. Or what are we thinking?
Yeah, I got Fort Worth All Saints, but it's also because I had Fort Worth All Saints as one of my favorites to win D2 as well. That's just what I said. I had them winning the district before any of that. I compared them to the rest of D2. I'm really high on All Saints this year. I'm a lot higher on them than basically any other team. I love the O-line. I think that's going to be such a key part of this team. Defensively, they have, you know, Robert Sanders and Keller Patterson, like you said, like everything is aligning for them. Also, I would like to say, like, I just overall with Nolan, like, you know, I want to see how they play this year. You know, Cole Matsuda last year, there's so many guys on that defensive line as well for Nolan. There's a lot of turnover for Nolan this year. There's a lot of like new positions that they're filling. I think overall that you just have a more you know, continuous what you had last year. Like you said, you're returning 8 on both sides of the ball for Fort Worth All Saints. You can't tell me that with returning 8 on both sides, you know, All Saints isn't basically going to be the same team. All Saints played great last year. And I think this year they could play even better. I have them going so far this year, and I'm not going to be hypocritical with my pick. So I'm going All Saints for this game. And, you know, call me crazy, but I love this game. This might be one of the best D1, D2 games, if not the best D1, D2 game, probably all year long. So this is a game that everyone needs to know about.
Foster, I think I've got a pretty idea of where this one's going to go, but what are your thoughts here on this game?
Yeah, you already know I'm going to ride with the Saints on this one. If you went against the Saints, you're wrong, but it sounds like we all agree on this. But like y'all said, I mean, touching on points of kind of a rebuilding year for Nolan Catholic in some senses, filling some holes and, you know, missing spots. I think they'll still do great this year. But I got to go with my Saints. I got to go with Coach Beck getting the troops ready. I think O-line is the biggest position, I guess, multiple positions on the offense, and if you have a good O-line, you can do a lot of things. You can throw, you can run.
Right.
All Saints has that. And, I think looking to see how Spriggs comes in, I think he'll do great. And there's just a lot of good leaders on that team. So got to go with the Saints. But I think it'll be a little close, but I think Saints come out on top and, take care of business also too, just because I know how much this game means to those guys. And coming up short the past 2 years, I think it's that they have a message that they want to get across to not only to the division that they're in now, but the division that they just left, right? That the Old Catholic's still in, that they can compete with anybody. So I've got the Saints on top.
I think we can all agree here that what's it called. I think we can all agree here that an O-line is going to be successful for a passing and running offense, like you said, Foster. Like everyone can be successful on an offense with a good O-line. Something that, my high school struggled with, and I feel like there are other high schools, you run into a bunch of guys that are just like not big enough that, when you compete against other schools, I'm not going to rag on, taps and stuff like that, but we don't have, 6A Duncanville type of guys coming to block for us. But what I see at All Saints is something bigger than anybody else. I see elite, blockers on the offensive line for All Saints. They're going to make that team successful. And if you don't believe that, then you're wrong.
Yeah, no, I think All Saints are going to come out and just play tenacious football. We will see that come Friday. However, 2 more games and we'll get out of here. The first one is St. Thomas versus St. John's, both out of Houston. I will actually be attending this game on Friday. As for the Massey ratings, they have St. Thomas as a 7.5-point favorite and a 35-28 victory for them. They also have St. Thomas as a 63% win chance. So St. Thomas returns 5-7, St. John's returns 6-7, and I instantly know we're going to get chirped by St. John's regardless of what I say in the next 45 seconds, so I'll just get straight to the point. I think St. Thomas is special this year. With the addition of former Shadow Creek quarterback Dante Lewis and the rising star Yohan Cardenas to round out the backfield, I think the Eagles have a shot to go very far if the defense is up to par with the offense. However, again, St. John's, I'm giving you flowers. St. John's is nothing to scoff at all. They returned studs such as Cole Allen and Dax Garza, and they're looking to take another step forward in a loaded SBC 4A. I just think St. Thomas is going to have too much firepower for the Mavs to handle week 1. But our early season picks against St. John's are notoriously inaccurate. So take that as y'all will. Y'all will have a fantastic opportunity to prove me wrong Friday. And I fully expect everyone to be chirping me on the sidelines. So I'm going to take St. Thomas in this game. Walker, your thoughts on the Battle of Houston?
I mean, after watching them in 7-on-7, man, I mean, how can you not pick against us? How can you not pick St. Thomas in this one? That's what I'm going to do. I mean, like you said, Dante Lewis is a special guy, and I think he was going to fit right in, and I think he's going to be the guy for their team. Yohan Cardenas, seen him in person. I mean, squatting 500 as a sophomore in high school is very impressive, and the D1 offers as at a 6-foot running back they're going to pile in. I just see it coming. One guy, I think we talked about it in the 7-on-7 episode, Larry Benton is going to be a very, very good athlete for them on the outside. And I mean, we talk about a linebacking core a lot of places. There might not be a better one. And Jack Ward, Zach Rocha, and Tyler Day. That linebacking core is very, very good. With some experience on there, a lot of seniors. I mean, St. Thomas probably is my pick to run the South, and I think they'll start it with the week 1 win over Houston St. John's.
We will see. Ryan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think for what I saw last year from St. John's, it's just overall that they just won every game until they had to play the ESDs and Kincaids of the world. So this year, I honestly think that I don't want to go wrong in this scenario against St. John's. I know they come out strong. They have always come out strong. So with this specific one, I know y'all saw St. Thomas at 7-on-7, and maybe that's where I fall flat, and maybe that's where I didn't get to see enough out of them that I needed to see. But in all reality, I think I have St. John's here. I'm going against you, Wes. Be happy. I pick St. John's, and I think overall that, they're going to be one of those teams that's going to compete in 4A this year with Kincaid, with ESD. It's going to be a lot closer this year than, most people thought it was last year. Most people kind of just had Kincaid running the entire way. Those three teams are going to battle it out in the SPC, and I think St. John starts off hot here with the win over St. Thomas.
Yeah, the way you started off that, I really thought you were going to go with St. Thomas, but trust me, I'm very, very happy you picked St. John's. And now I don't have to beg Foster to pick St. John's. So Foster, now that you can pick whichever team you feel like picking, who are we going with in this game in Houston?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the St. Thomas on this one. I think 7 on defense is the most important thing that sticks out to me. I think St. John's does a good job too. They talk about a team that if you mess up, if you on offensively, if you make a mistake, they're going to make you pay for it. Remember that when we played St. John's, because they'll just run the clock out. But if St. Thomas does a good job and score and get up early, I think they run away with it. And the fact that they have 7 on defense coming back too just knows that they can stop that veer option. They'll do real well.
So mark it down, 3 for St. Thomas, 1 for St. John's. I will be on site at St. John's on Friday, so I'm very excited to witness that game. However, moving into the last game, we're going to preview Dallas Christian versus Dallas Bishop Dunn. As for the Massey ratings, they have Dallas Christian as a 26.5-point favorite and a 41-14 victory for the Chargers with a 91% win chance. I've seen spreads much crazier with Dallas Christian, so it's 26.5 doesn't faze me at all. So as for the synopsis, Dunn does appear to be improved this season. Jeremiah Horn, Juan Million Aguilar, and Jesse Lara will set out on a mission to prove that statement. I think this team can get back on track and make the playoffs in a very, very tough TAPS Division II. However, Dallas Christian's a different breed. One of the first things I ever said on this podcast that they were a rolling ball of chainsaws. That statement has not changed at all. And now they just dropped down a division. So they're just an elite squad that lacks any sort of weakness, whether you're looking at on-field performance or coaching. 25 quarterback Luke Carney looks to take a step forward this season, and time will tell if Dallas Christian allows him to spin the ball a little bit more or if Zach Hernandez will carry the majority of the offense, as DC has traditionally been a power run team. It's a good problem to have. So if Carney does spin it, I'm curious to watch the matchup between two of the top sophomore quarterbacks and safeties, showcasing Carney and Aguilar on the other side. Junior DB Will Nettles will also make life hard for the Falcons through the air after a very successful combine season. At the end of the day, Dunn is improved, but in no way, shape, or form will they hang with Dallas Christian. Give me the Chargers to cover the 26.5-point spread here. Walker?
Like you said, I think they're getting towards the Dunn of old. Foster, back in your day, Bishop Dunn was up there with one of the best teams in private school, right? They've always been like that. And, they took some regression the past couple seasons, but like you said, I think they're on the right trajectory, but I don't think they get it done in this game. I think Dallas Christian, like we said in our rankings, is one of the top 10 teams in private school as a D3 team, which is unheard of. And I think how good they are will be showed. And even though they're small of class size, like I've said it before, they don't rebuild. They somehow every year just reload at DC, and they do it again this year. And I think Dallas Christian will have a really good starting point to the season with this one.
Yeah, I completely agree. Ryan, I think the better question is, does DC cover here?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to ask. Are we betting on the cover? Or are we betting on the actual game?
So for the pick record, we're betting on the game, but I think it's more appropriate to ask if DC covers.
Yeah, that might be a little bit nicer. In my opinion, I think this is just kind of like a story in itself. It's just like Dallas Christian is one of the only teams I think to ever have won a state championship outright and then just to be sent down a division. Like, I haven't heard of that ever happening before. It's like, that's crazy to win a state championship. And then they go, oh, by the way, you're going down a division and you have to play teams with even smaller class sizes. So I think for Dallas Christian, although this is a D2 matchup, I think Dallas Christian is just going to prove so well in district this year. They're going to prove so well in their schedule. I'm excited to see how they play against a Fort Bend and a Nolan Catholic this year. But for now, we're talking about Bishop Dunn. Bishop Dunn, how I have them phasing out this year, depending on how the Legacy and Grace games go against Bishop Dunn, shout out Wes and I for our Legacy and Grace games. But I think this is the year where you could see whether Bishop Dunn makes the playoffs or if they let Legacy and Grace, take those other two spots besides Grapevine Faith in that, district in Division II. Give me Dallas Christian. Give me the cover as well in this game. I will say, though, Bishop Dunn, please prove me wrong. I want to see this team come back to life, and I want to see this team make some major noise in that second district of Division II with our schools in it and stuff like that. I want to see how they play, and I want that district to be competitive because everybody keeps talking trash on it, and I want people to know that Legacy, Grapevine Faith, and Bishop Dunn are going to make that district still a prominent district in TAPS.
All right, just shade Grace. That's okay with me.
We'll
see.
Did I not say Grace?
No, you said Legacy, Grapevine, Faith, and Dunn.
Oh, and Grace.
Thank you.
I left the fifth team out, but I don't remember the fifth team in that district. Coram Deo. Yeah, Coram Deo. I think that district adds a lot more than people are talking about it. A lot of people are saying mess about that. So I just wanted to be known that district's going to do a lot more than people think.
Yeah, no, I think it has a chance to for sure. Foster, as a reminder, the spread is Dallas Christian minus 26.5. So, I mean, I'll let you say who you think is going to win first, but a follow-up question. Do you think DC covers a 26.5 point spread against Bishop Dunn?
And I also want to say before you do it,
I think they do.
We don't.
Already said.
Walker was trying to make sure everyone knows that we don't promote gambling.
Yeah,
so it's an HR announcement. Go ahead. Go ahead, Foster.
Yeah, go.
No, I think Dallas Christian comes up top. Like you said earlier, I mean, I never heard of a team that just outright wins the whole thing and then drops down a division. I know Dallas Christian, they seem to have a good team this year. Like all the notes here, I mean, they don't have any weaknesses. Dallas Christian is also a very hard place to play at for the road, but they are playing at Bishop Dunn, I see. But, Bishop Dunn was one of the top dogs when I was in high school. So I agree that it needs – I would love to see I think it's Coach, Slaughter, him to get that team over there in that program back to what it was. And they always have had the athletes, So it sounds like Coach Slaughter trained a couple of their younger quarterbacks, and they have heard nothing but great things over there, what they're building over there. So Dallas Christian, though, similar, like I said earlier, they're type like an Alito type, dogfight team to where they'll always just reload. They'll always give you a fight, and I had them going through this one super easy.
Yeah, no, talking about playing at Dallas Christian, I still don't know why they won't make the sidelines a little wider. Like if you get hit out of bounds at Wheeler Field, you're going immediately flying into the stands because there's like 2 feet in between the sideline and the stands. But I've made that rant probably 4 different times on this show. So, oh my gosh. But yeah, that actually rounds out all 7 games we're going to preview. So before we get out of here, Foster, is there anything else you want to plug, whether that's for you personally or if it's for APR Ranch?
No, I just want to say thank you guys for having me on here. I appreciate it. I love what y'all are doing. I think this is awesome. I think it's awesome for the kids. I think it's awesome for just people getting to know these athletes there at these Texas private schools. Because I've always said, being a private school guy, I think private schools, especially the top ones, go compete with dang near anyone in Texas. So I love what y'all are doing. Anybody that's listening to this, man, just keep grinding, keep having goals, make good decisions, and know that, there's always something in store for you down the road, whatever that looks like, sports, not sports. So, but no, I appreciate y'all having me on here. Anybody needs some quarterback lessons, just hit me up. I'm around.
No, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on. As I said previously, Foster socials will be linked in the show notes. APR Ranch's website will also be linked in the show notes. Make sure you check both of those out. But barring any further comments from Walker or Ryan, this has been the Texas Private School Podcast. I have been 1/3 of your hosting crew. Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder have excellently been themselves. We thank Foster Sawyer yet again for coming on and gracing us with his knowledge. We will see you in the next episode. See you later.
3, 2, 1.